So I'm having a chat with Warren Haynes. How are you?
Very good.
Good, great stuff. So after this interview, we'll play a single of yours called "Real Real Love." Tell us about the single first of all.
Well, Real Real Love is a song that Greg Allman had started writing years ago and never finished. And he had showed it to me somewhere along the way, but it was only an incomplete lyric at that time. After he passed away, I found a copy of the lyric and decided to finish it and add music to it. So I called Derek Trucks and told him about it and said that we should record the song together, which led to us writing some more music and going into the studio and recording for a few days. And Real Real Love is one of my favorite tracks on the new album.
Yeah, nice. And as mentioned, that is off your new album, Million Voices Whisper, which is out now. For those who've not had chance to take a listen, what can we expect on the record?
Well, it's very different from my last solo record, Ashes and Dust, because I look at Ashes and Dust as being quite a departure from anything else I've ever done. It was very acoustic oriented, very Appalachian influenced. This record is more similar to the record that I did called Man in Motion, which is soul music meets blues, has some jazz influence and funk influences as well, but it's very much coming from a soul music direction.
Nice. And the sound that you made with this record, was it the sound you wanted to make, or is it simply just how it turned out in the studio?
Yeah, I think it turned out exactly as I would hope. You know, you never know until you get into the studio. But I had hand selected this band with the thought in mind of all these personalities coming together for this music, and it really exceeded our expectations. I believe from the very beginning, everything just kind of rose out of the floor in a very organic way, and I'm very happy with the results.
Nice. And it has been around 10 years since your previous solo record. What was the reason behind such a big gap? Is it simply because you were too busy doing other projects?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I've done three Government Mule records in that time period and appeared on a lot of other people's records as well. And of course, a ton of touring. I think this record was more born out of the COVID lockdown situation because I was writing so much music during that time period. I was able to write enough songs to do two Government Mule records, but also to have a good start on this record. And over the last 2 or 3 years, I continued to write more songs for this record. It's been a very productive time period for me, as I would say probably for most songwriters. But uh, I tend to write songs that go all over the map and in a lot of different directions. So once I realized there were enough songs that didn't sound like Government Mule songs, but seemed to work together and have a common thread, then I thought, yeah, it's time to make a solo record.
Nice, nice. And I like to talk about the writing as well. So for you, how do tracks normally start off?
Say it again.
How do tracks normally start off?
As far as the writing process, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, it could be, you know, it could be anything. It could be a lyrical idea with no melody. It could be a lyric and a melody combined. It could be a little guitar riff. Uh, and some of these songs actually came to me when I was just about asleep at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And I would get an idea in my head and I would make myself get up and sing the idea or play the idea into my phone so I wouldn't forget it the next day. There's a song called You Ain't Above Me that came about that way. Day of Reckoning came about that way. And, you know, sometimes when that happens, you wake up the next day and go, no, this is terrible. But in the case of those songs, I really enjoyed the initial idea and turned it into something further.
yeah, nice, nice. And you've written for and with many artists. You've collaborated with many artists over the years as well. How do these collaborations and writing processes come about for these other artists?
Well, usually organically. In the case of Day of Reckoning with Lucas Nelson and Jamie Johnson, the three of us were in Nashville together doing some songwriting. And I had started writing Day of Reckoning and showed it to those guys. And Lucas wound up actually having some ideas about completing the song, which really brought it to a new place. But we sang a little bit of the chorus at that time, and I just loved the way it sounded, and I always loved the way that our voices blend. We worked together on the Last Waltz tour a few years ago, and when we sing together with Jamie on the bottom, myself in the middle, and Lucas on the top, it's just a beautiful harmony blend. And so I thought it would be nice to capture that. Uh, Lucas also played some brilliant guitar on that song as well. The Derek Trucks collaboration, as I mentioned before, was kind of stirred on by the concept of the song "Real Real Love." Then we wrote a handful of other tunes together and wound up recording two of them for this record: "These Changes" and "Hall of Future Saints." Which "These Changes" opens the album, and "Hall of Future Saints" closes the album. It was two good opportunities to capture what he and I do best together, which is like a musical communication with two guitar players.
Yeah, nice. And you've got some shows coming up as well. Got a couple this year, and then you've got a busy start to next year as well. What's your plan for doing some shows?
Well, the next thing for us is this benefit at Madison Square Garden that myself and Dave Matthews co-organized. It's called Soulshine MSG. It's a benefit for hurricane relief for North Carolina and Florida, which got devastated by the hurricanes recently. And I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, and some of the Dave Matthews Band crew is from the Sarasota area of Florida. So both of these areas are very personal in our hearts. We reached out to a lot of friends, so it's going to be the Dave Matthews Band, myself, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, the band Goose, special guest Trey Anastasio, Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks, Mavis Staples, Joe Russo, Trombone Shorty, and Robert Randolph. This will be a fantastic night of music at Madison Square Garden. And then in December, Government Mule has some shows for the first time in a while. We're about to kick off our 30th anniversary. So next year is going to be a big year. A lot of special shows for Government Mule and some archival releases, unreleased studio recordings, and unreleased live recordings. And the Warren Haynes Band is going to continue promoting Million Voices Whisper. So there's a lot coming up.
Yeah, nice. I've can see your shows as well. You've got quite a few over in the US. Nothing over here just yet. Are you planning on coming over here, Europe, and elsewhere as well?
Yeah, there is plans for the Warren Haynes Band to come back to Europe next year, and I'm excited about that.
Nice. And it's been about 18 months since Government Mule last released their records. Where are you at with more music for them?
Well, we haven't really embarked on a new project yet, but I'm really excited to record with our new bass player Kevin Scott, who really brings a beautiful energy to the music. So once we get through the New Year's shows in Jamaica, we'll probably start putting our heads together about what the next studio record is going to be.
Nice. Sounds good to me. Warren, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you.
My pleasure.